Time is now 2:10, and I'm concluding the executive session. The following participants in the session were Attorney Seth Walker, Trustee Mamonakis, Trustee Roth, Mayor Pro Tem Pazlusny, Trustee Lakai, and Clerk Treasurer Ariel, and Admin Ariel Blackwell. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meetings law, I would ask that you state your concerns now. Hearing none, the next agenda item is a motion to officially close the executive session.
I move to close the executive session.
For a second, Sean got Mamonakis, Trustee Mamonakis. First was Trustee Roth. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna go back to the attorney report. So Seth, can you hear us? I think you're still muted. There you go.
I was muted, Mayor. I have three specific items to have or to cover on my report, if you're ready for those three items.
Yep.
The first one would be a question. On our agenda, we have our Mayor Pro Tem adding some language to Town Code Section 15-2-109. My question would be, would the town like an ordinance drafted that adopts that language and amends that section?
I think it's 15-2-190, not 109, sorry.
Correct, 15-2-190.
So you're asking if we would prefer to just have a drafted ordinance, or would it be an ordinance or a?
Yes, that would be an ordinance that would amend that language in the town code. And I'm just asking if you'd like me to draft that and have that ready for you by the end of the week.
What do you think?
That's what I presented.
Yeah.
That's fine with the rest of the board.
As a draft, we could go over it, that would be good.
Yeah, but the next time we'd be able to go over it would be at the next regular meeting.
Right.
So we review before the meeting ourselves and go over it.
Yeah, we could, if it comes, if you send it to us, then we could look at it and review it. So the idea is that if everybody follows what they've stated in their building permit and they're following state code for the sewage, as well as our code of not being tied down to the ground, which is an important aspect, so we don't have mobile tiny houses and various things like that. That they would be able to get the CO with no problem. It would just be a technicality that allows us to move on. If it's a bigger organization, similar to the planned unit development or the Adley building, then it would be a little bit more of affidavit or written statement from the engineer stating that their habitable structures are that they are habitable. So it just adds like another small layer to our code, that it just gives us that flexibility that we can, feel confident that the organization or usually on that end, the bigger organizations have followed through with what their original plans were, and that they, that there's no like skimping or going over steps that are really important to the town.
They present their building, we approve it, we want to build the way they presented it to us, not change things or leave stuff out that they got approved for, they didn't put in there.
And I did see this before in what you sent me, but I'm not finding it. So,
Seth, if you recall, several months ago, we had a conversation about the certificate of occupancy, and the only
it's in-
thing that we have a CO for is a commercial. And all it requires is to make a statement that you know the zoning district and you meet setback requirements. That's all it does. And this would add residential with a little bit more bite.
That was my understanding too, is we are also trying to add residential. There is a CO requirement also under our PUD. And I believe it, Mayor, I'm sorry, I know we looked that up when we spoke. Let me see if I can jump to that section.
Under electric and plumbing permits.
Well, I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem. I thought that I had reviewed some language about a CO for a PUD. However, I'm not finding it readily.
Looking to,
It's there, and remember the mayor said he read it as well.
well, Seth read it to me, so let's just see. Um,
15-9-170. B as in boy.
I see, okay, you want me to read it? The building inspector shall approve and sign the requests for a certificate of occupancy, and upon receipt of such signed request, the town clerk shall issue a certificate of occupancy for any completed building or structure located in an area covered by the approved final development plan. If the completed buildings or structures conform to the requirements of the approved final development plan and all other applicable ordinances and regulations.
And what I think we're trying to do is kind of support that language for all applicable or other applicable ordinances and regulations to include anything that the state may impose, anything that was part of the PUD, be that curb and gutter, open space. Just trying to spell that out a little more with that language that you proposed.
The
Mayor
drainage,
Pro Tem.
water score, infrastructure.
And I'm
Right.
sorry I stepped on you.
No,
It also says if the time limit established by the development schedule has passed, no building permits or certificates of occupancy shall be issued until the planning commission has reviewed the development plan and a new development schedule has been established. So final development plan, from time to time, the planning commission shall compare the actual development accomplished in the various planned unit development with the approved development schedules. If the owner of the property in the planned unit development has failed to meet the approved development schedule, proceedings may be initiated to revoke the approval final development plan. For good cause shown by the property owner for planning commission may extend the limits of the development schedule. So
We moved from one section to another where we were talking about our CO, kind of then
yeah,
into some of the
I'm
the
referring to
obligations
the,
or the rights of the planning commission.
yeah, I think I'm trying to get to the point of a final development plan, because we haven't seen that at all in the planning commission. And we have not. We probably need to bring one forth to to the planning commission, which will, we haven't seen anything of that, of the sort, so we're talking about maybe having a meeting with the Living Wisdom and finding out if if we can get on the same page, because there's some definite discrepancies happening with the plans that they created and the agreements that we've set as well, and how it's turned out.
Yeah, the only thing we received so far is the chlorination test for the main, and they came back negative, which is fine. As far as pressure tests for the water system, we've gotten nothing. And there's some other issues that, I mean, they're all man-made, so we could fix them, but I think there's gonna be a bit of a battle.
And I would think that the planning commission should be addressing those with the applicant. And they do have the right to do so, just in that section 180, I believe it was.
So you're saying take it through the planning commission, not the board?
Correct.
And as you're drafting it, I'm just, it seems like at least a lot of us are on the same page that like Crestone area and Baca has had a lot of history of owner builder kind of homestead occupancy during construction. I mean, I'd be very interested in seeing some kind of provision for temporary occupancy for owner builders while they're under construction, which would be unusual, I'm sure. But anything that can be.
No, you can get a temporary seal.
Yeah, so I'm very interested in looking at owner for people who maybe aren't financing their house and building on site while they're trying to be in the community, some sort of.
Time limit or something?
Well, maybe not, like maybe having a permanent certificate of occupancy and a temporary one that's revocable or something like that, if it's possible. I don't know what the legality of that would be, but some provision.
I'm going to put that as a separate matter. One, I think to try to get the draft before the board as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And then I just had a question in my head that I would like to research. I think part of the CO just requires like some working toilet, and I'll probably just have a discussion with the board how they might like to handle that also. So,
Well, we've always conformed to the state on that, so if it's a state regulated composting toilet works, because I know they started making those. I think a vaulted privy is also allowed, as well as septic tank, as long as it's state certified by a engineer with an engineer stamp on it.
And the nearby Baca allows porta potties, outdoor porta potties, so there's a few options for that kind of thing.
That would be like a vaulted privy.
Yeah, it's still multi-free.
Or before project's done for temporary.
For temporary.
Yeah.
Oh, temporary.
During construction.
Yeah,
Right, so trustee Roth was saying that that if you're in construction, you're allowed a porta potty so that you can, there's a temporary bathroom available while you're building.
for a temporary seal.
All right.
While you're under construction.
Something.
Yeah, don't wanna confuse the two.
Maybe I'm confusing some issues.
So the only other thing I could say, Seth, is that we have some regulations about just being a non-mobile structure, so you can't just pull the house off the lot, it stays on the lot once it's, and so that has prevented like tiny house people from coming in and just taking a piece of land and setting up basically a glamping situation. So that was one thing, and then obviously zoning and I don't think there was a requirement for water. It's the wastewater that's the requirement. It has to be state certified.
Mayor, I will probably discuss that with you a little further as we move on, but I will definitely try to I will have the proposed draft for an amendment, including some of this language, to you here by the end of the week. So you
Okay,
can
thank
act
you,
on
Seth.
that in your next meeting in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Seth.
My second topic is related to the 3 mile IGA, the area of joint concern between the town and the county. I was going through our minutes, and it does appear that we approved and had the seconded motion to sign that proposed IGA. If I could get a signed copy of that, I will present that to the county for their signature. That would probably just help out that process for them to also see that we have signed that copy and are just basically ready for them to proceed if they're willing to accept it also.
I'd be happy to sign that.
Okay. And then if you could just provide that to me through the clerk, that would be helpful. We'll try to get that to them this week also.
Yeah. Okay,
And then Mayor, my last item, did we approve the contract with Brett Collier already?
yes, we did.
Okay.
We
Um,
felt like, there was not enough of a difference between the first contract and the second contract, and we were happy with the first contract, so we, it's just a little increase in his ORC responsibilities as well as, an increase in pay.
Okay, I did have 2 points just to bring up. In my first reading of that contract, if we come into another contract with them, I would like to add some Tabor language, as this contract will get us into more than one fiscal year, 2025 and 2026. And then also, I'd just like to discuss with you and Brett when we're doing another contract, section 10. I think that may run a little bit into some indemnification language that I think the town may not be able to necessarily enter into or may not be held up in court, stating that the non-prevailing party may be responsible for the prevailing party's costs in a litigation matter. I do believe that is kind of the definition of indemnification. That's the town saying we will hold you not responsible for something. However, we don't know what that cost could be. And I do think that runs afoul with our anti-indemnification statutes that government entities are able to prevail themselves under.
You say that was section 10?
Section 11, I'm sorry.
So would we want to change our motion to read, pending review and adjustments by our attorney?
I wouldn't change anything right now.
I don't know. You're saying that.
I wouldn't. I don't mean to go against attorney's advice at this late in the game. This probably be hopefully the last contract we ever do.
I don't think we're going to run into too many issues with a lack of the Tabor clause. However, if we do have a budget issue, that may come up. And then also section 11 is just something that I'd like to discuss with him about. So if you're happy to proceed with the current contract, we've had it for just a few days now. It sounds like you are getting a good service from that individual, and that's something that I don't want to stop either. So
Seems to me the suggestion is one that we addressed when we did the first contract with them. So it's always good if our attorney is flagging something that it should be a little more specific. To go ahead and make that change to the agreement.
So, I'm noticing it's saying prevailing party, so it could go either way. Is that correct on that? Is it?
could be how it's written. There is some language, some case law that says just an indemnification clause is not valid in the state of Colorado.
So if
so
that's the case,
section,
then we just, then it's just not valid, even if we hold it, so it would be very difficult for him to fight that in court anyway, so it's kind of null and void anyways, or.
Correct. I do believe that that case law really is trying to get to the point that somebody that is contracting with a government entity should kind of have that understanding and know that already, and basically removing any indemnification clauses that are in a contract.
So if that's the case, and we leave it in there, then if it does come up, then it might not be held up in court, is what you're trying to say.
Correct.
Okay, so then we don't have to mess with it in that way. And then the Tabor thing has to do with the fact that we're doing a multi-year contract. And
It extends into the 2026 calendar year, fiscal year.
is there a way around that, that we can start basically create a new contract come a different, or how does that work? It's just,
The Tabor clause is the clause that states this agreement is not binding the town for more than one fiscal year. The current contract is written, as I read it, August 1st, 2025 through August 1st, 2026. So that does currently have 2 fiscal years. And the Tabor clause helps us to get around some of those Tabor restrictions that are, as we are basically entering into a clause or a contract for more than one fiscal year currently, or as written.
is there a possibility, instead of changing this particular contract, of just creating like a little addendum that we would sign separate?
I would say if Mr. Collier is willing and able to, really what we would be doing is doing an amendment. And that would be an amendment incorporating a clause simply that talks about the Tabor restrictions. And that's something that can be done fairly quickly also.
What do you think of that?
I'll tell you, it won't be me that gives it though.
So I guess the issue that we're dealing with is that when we first started with Brett, he somehow was offended by the fact that we turned his contract over to you right away and said, that he wants it to be kind of on a level of, he doesn't, I felt like he felt like that we were going straight to the attorney right off the bat, as opposed to sort of discussing, but I understand that there's definitely some, items that he's not looking at, and so I don't know the best way to handle it. I feel like we really do need him, and we really do need you, and so it's kind of, there's gotta be some kind of compromise.
I could draft the amendment, and I would also, if you would like to direct me to do so, basically be able to reach out to Brett. I don't believe that a Tabor clause is something that he should be unfamiliar with, or something that should make him too uncomfortable. It's
What if,
basically going to state that the 2026 portion is going to require appropriation of funds in the 2026 budget.
What if we draft the amendment and we turn it over to the clerk to give to him? And see if he agrees to it as an amendment.
I can do that.
That way there's not, I think he has something, I don't know if he had a bad experience with attorneys back in the day or what it is, but there's something about him wanting to keep it outside of the attorney realm, even though probably because he might not have one, and so he feels like, we have one, he doesn't have one, and he doesn't want to have to get one. I don't know if that's exactly the case, but he definitely took offense to it last time, and it really caused a stir, and I don't really.
I kind of feel we've made it a policy for the town that any sort of contract that we have, especially a financial contract, we have our attorney review it. It's just town
Well, we
policy.
did,
Yeah.
we had this review,
Right.
except,
So, but I'm just saying for any contractor who objects to that, I mean, it should part of the policy our attorney reviews. It doesn't mean we think you're awful or you're gonna try to rip us off or anything else. It's a part of the policies. The attorney gives it a review. And unless there's nothing, just a big red flag, okay, we're good.
I like what Ben just said, cause the attorney's gonna do all the reviews, do everything anyway, and then just let Ariel send it to him, so he doesn't. Get
Well, it
touchy.
protects all parties too, protects everybody.
Well, not every party agrees to every paragraph that's in the contract either.
Yeah, all right. For review.
Yeah,
And you gotta take a moment to figure out what you need out of it, and if you're going to get that, then why kick the can all over the place?
Well, I think for our own benefit, we could have an amendment and see if he abides by it, so that it's really just a technicality. That keeps us from, keeps us in line with Tabor.
So it's that the work is getting done in 2-year periods. We couldn't appropriate a budget for the contract. In 1 year and just play it in that for the following, yeah.
That's well put.
So what, one thing Tabor is trying to do is to prevent the board from acting on their 2026 budget or tying the board's hands to an act that has already been done. And that would be this contract that extends into 2026. And this is how a board is able to use multi-year contracts or contracts that are in a multi-fiscal year. They just have to have the Tabor clause to allow them to say that this contract is going to be valid only if the 2026 funding is approved by the board and the 2026 budget.
Seems like a weird thing to be upset by, because we get ourselves in trouble by not following our budget, you know. But of
Well,
course,
because-
people have their sensitivities and some of them are logical and some of them are not.
Some people, like the lawyers or police, are very sensitive, you know, about it, maybe that's just it.
Well, I'm sure that people have abused it in the past, so.
Yeah.
So even though this is not an abusive contract, or, you know, another board might think it was. You know, so the other board might say, well, why, we don't know. It's kind of like preventing, budgets are actually preventing, certain elements of like human nature where somebody comes in and wants to spend more money than is appropriated, and so the budget is a protection against that, and this is a protection against, a contract that carries over into another.
This is a contract that avoids our board misappropriation of funds, correct?
Kind of.
So.
And I do think our clerk, I would hope that she could read basically the first 2 lines of my amendment. And really what it is it's trying to show that the town is subject to Tabor. The town does not intend to violate Tabor. And the way they do that is they need this clause to say we are not entering into a multi-fiscal year agreement or an obligation of funds. So if we do appropriate these funds in 2026, this contract will continue. If the board doesn't appropriate the funds, then it probably would terminate. But really it is the town having to comply with Tabor. It's the town trying to make sure that it is being legal and upright. And that is why the town is asking for this amendment to be added.
Sounds maybe difficult for somebody who's expecting the contract to carry on without review.
Right.
So that would be the other party's concern in most cases, I think.
Yeah, but we can.
The original contract was up in April. And we went from April to this point
With no comment.
with nothing.
Yeah.
And no one said a word. No one said anything. Now, on the 11th hour, it comes up. Why?
I'm sorry, I'm bringing this to the board's attention because I just read it this
It's not
weekend.
you. It's not you. It's not you.
So maybe just looking at it from Brett's perspective, is that what we're talking about?
Kind of, I mean, we're contracting with this particular person because
Yeah.
they have,
They have the skills we need We can't afford to piss them off.
At a very reduced rate.
We're in between a rock and a hard place with this guy. It would appear as we've just fired our other.
So how about this, how about we turn it over, try to make it as, you know, least offensive as possible, maybe even saying something like there's.
Faces on it.
No, I was thinking something like prefacing it, pretexting it with something like, you know, the town expects to fund this in its next budget year or something like that. There's no fund. There's no, that it's expected that we will fund this, but just for Tabor's protocol, we're doing this or something, you know what I mean? It's like, there's a way to say it in a way that makes it so there's no,
Framing it apologetically.
yeah, framing it apologetically.
So I'm trying to pull open the contracts with Mr. Collier from April. I have it as April 9th, 2024. My computer's opening up blank screens for that, but I kind of remember adding the Tabor clause to the agreement that he proposed in April of 2024 as something that we did after reviewing his agreement.
So, when you're saying 2024 here, to me, this seems like we discussed this, I'm having deja vu here. Seemed like we discussed this the very last time when this contract first came up, that there was no top limit. That it was this much a month, it's this much for hours, not to exceed or up to, there wasn't a limit on this, and it seems like we've been there, done that already with the agreement.
This is a different agreement, that one expired in April. We're now in a gap period with no contract. This is a new one stating that he's going to increase his work to our sewer system ORC as well,
Right,
so that we can.
right, but I think if we went back to the contract from the old one, we had at that time inserted a top limit on what a
So
person
there a top limit?
pay for. That's what I'm remembering is that, because we have it's this amount and this many hours plus additional hours work. And you know, I doubt if we're gonna get a bill for 2,000 hours in a month, okay, is what we're all saying, it's all worked out very well. And so if we look at the contract we got from a year ago, didn't we already deal with this? Am I totally missing the subject we're talking about here?
What we added we increased his involvement with the sanitary sewer and the hourly rate went up.
Okay.
So it's not the same contract.
So I think it's fine that we just create an amendment that we hand to him, if he doesn't wanna sign it, he doesn't sign it. If something gets, I mean, what are the consequences to the actions here? Seth, like. What would, I mean, basically, if we cut it off because we didn't budget for it. You know. Is it, I mean, if we say that we tried to show him that we tried to abide by Tabor, if it gets cut off, then what? Then he could take us to court and say, you guys cut me off, and we could say, well, we weren't abiding by Tabor, we tried to abide by Tabor. And I'm just trying to think of like the worst case scenario.
Just keep it real simple. You know?
I think the worst case scenario would probably come from some vocal member of the public trying to show that we're entering into contracts that are not in agreement with Tabor from a third party, not necessarily from Britain himself.
Can we look at the contract that we had originally and to see what that was? I mean, the first one, didn't we have that in there? It seems.
He wasn't satisfied with that contract, right?
The first contract doesn't matter. The second contract, this one is what matters. It doesn't matter.
Well, if we feel
It's the
good
whole
about it,
agreement.
if we feel good about it, let's just go with it. But if we feel like there's a red flag, then let's deal with it. And
I say the one way we could deal with it is by putting an amendment before him, so that he understands that we're abiding by Tabor. And if he doesn't wanna sign it, then we're,
Okay,
you know, I mean, everything else is fine. Doesn't, would you agree that everything else is pretty good? Besides maybe that indemnification clause?
Yes.
okay.
Sounds like we're kind of stuck and have to do that as far as I can see. So, I don't like it either, especially when we're getting good service. And it's not something enjoyable, but we should
Well,
send them flowers and chocolate.
Of all the companies that we've dealt with, all the other groups of people that we've dealt with, and had to make some type of agreement with, this went the best.
Yeah, no, I hear that. It's just exposing ourselves, members of the community that get unhappy about the littlest thing and don't really,
That I can handle.
you can handle it.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not as. I think an apology is what we have to offer, like realistically. But we really, really appreciate him and, but we really, if, it's not.
Well, that's why I think,
Our choice, really.
that's why I think that if maybe, we have Ariel present this. And maybe in like the best way possible, just, you do that well. Okay, so yes, Seth, we will create an addendum for neighbor compliance. Term. Oh, you're muted.
I will have two things to the board by the end of the week. One, the First Amendment, which would just include a proposed Tabor clause to our agreement with Brett Collier, and also an ordinance proposed that would be adopting and amending the language to section 15-2-190 of our town code.
I also think separating the amendment out of the contract is actually a better way to do it, because you can isolate it and look at it from that, everything else is fine, we're willing to sign, it's just that one addendum that does not that is easy for him to understand, easier, because we have to understand it as well.
And yes, that would be fairly clear. The amendment would not reiterate the contract. It would simply say that we are adding a section 14, and it would clearly state what that section is as concisely and unconfrontationally as possible. So, Mayor, that is the end of my report.
Okay, any other questions, comments, or concerns for the attorney? Anything else that, oh, yep. Ariel has something.
Seth, can you hear me?
I can, and I did see that you have sent me a few emails here this afternoon. I will try to get those answered and back to you as soon as possible, Mayor. I'm sorry, Clerk.
Perfect, that was one of my questions, and another one was about a public hearing for suspending or revoking a business license that was issued in the town of Crestone. I saw that we do have the ability to do that, the Board of Trustees has to have the public hearing. I was wondering if it follows like other public hearing rules, like if it needs to be in the newspaper, posted in the bulletin boards, kind of 10 days beforehand. I bring this up because I've had formal complaints about a business that is hiring children to work there. The children are drinking on the job there, and they're offering bring your own alcohol, and they don't have a liquor license currently.
Would you have a reference you could give me for revocation of a business license, just so I could look at that real quick also, Ariel?
It was under the business license section, which I think is chapter 8.
I can't see the screen, so I figured I have to do.
You should get you a mirror.
Chapter
Section
6.
6.
Yeah, and it was. Sorry.
Pretty soon we'll have new technology on it.
Like if you're
6-5-140.
Yes. Well, I have got.
Yes, that was it. It was that, or there was also a section about like suspension. It was really good.
on Samsung.
Do we have formal complaints?
I do, I have written complaints. I have at least 3 people who have cited to me and would come here on public record saying that they were offered BYOB in the premises. And one of them bought their own beer.
And they, after those people made formal complaints?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Actually, it's section 6-1-120.
And also 6-5-230.
Yes, I see that too.
And section 6-5-240 does get into our timeline of posting and notice.
So it just has to be mailed to them 10 days beforehand.
Yes, and this would be when the board is pursuing revocation, not the clerk.
And I have another
It does
question.
then spell out their appeal process,
Sorry, what number is that?
reapplications, and penalties.
It's 6-5-240. Or 230, sorry, I'm on.
Alright.
Yeah. I see that as being for marijuana, 6-4-230. Oh, and then, okay, 6-4-240. Other marijuana, no?
No, this is still under business license.
And regulations.
So she's saying that somebody who has a restaurant here, no liquor license. Offered a drink for sale.
No, they're doing, bring your own beer, BYOB,
Bring your own booze.
booze. Without a permit, and you can do that, I guess, maybe if it's a private club. Or
I
not,
have a liquor license.
or with a license. Church 6-4-2. Or 6-5.
And that's what the public would be for too, would be to bring those complaints forward, have those people speak. That's not just me.
So the people with the complaints could speak, the owners of the business could speak and. Then vote on it afterwards.
I found it.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and when they speak, they would be sworn in, so they're under oath. Also.
6-5, and then 230. Also revocation. Fraud, misrepresentation.
It's a state law, right?
Conducting business
codes.
So is it illegal in the state of Colorado for?
Bring your own beer.
According to Ariel, it is illegal. It is illegal.
Unless you have a liquor license, you can't ask people to,
Or a private club.
or a private club to bring their own booze.
That sounds
And
right.
beyond that, I'm also getting reports of children working there, like under 18, and getting drunk on premises, so.
That sounds very bad.
Huh?
That sounds very bad.
So between, I wouldn't bring this to you except for those sound serious enough, I think you should consider maybe. I think this is the only course of action the town really has to kind of say. No, you can't operate like that, and at least a public hearing would give everyone the chance to. Put these fears on the table and a chance for them to defend themselves as well before making any type of decision about.
So would it be up to us, our attorney, or the state liquor board to give them notice that, like, cease and desist, this is illegal, you can't do this?
It would be up to us now to give them some kind of notice. Well, that's why I was kind of asking Seth, like, how do we proceed with this? So he's saying with the public hearing, I would need to give them 10 days notice that you were looking to have a public hearing here. The only other way this comes into effect is if they apply for a liquor license. It's something that I would bring up during their liquor license hearing as well, that these complaints have been made.
Well, I would like to hear it, but it's like right now we have no illegal activity going on in a business. You don't give somebody 10 days notice to stop doing it. It's like you need to like stop doing this immediately. This is an illegal activity. You can't.
That's what I wanted to talk to him about, because I don't know what else to do.
So I really would like to hear what Steph has to say when we have somebody serving alcohol or allowing people to bring in their alcohol and it's against state law. It's not like that's a warning, that's a outright violation.
So I had a note that I can't say for certain that BYOB is in violation of a state law. If that is a reference or you have something there, I'd like to know. I do believe that that is something we can legislate locally. And if we want to include a no BYOB in our business licenses, that could be something that we could add to also.
So if we don't have that specifically in our codes, it might be something we can't address.
I do believe that if there is something along the lines of a health and safety, and that sounds like one of the multiple things that may be going on here, possibly underage employees, underage consumption, and then the BYOB is like the third thing that I heard there, I believe. And I do think the would have the ability to revoke a business license if there's a health and safety, which could be argued to be underage employees or serving alcohol to minors.
So as far as doing that more immediately, temporary closure, do we have any options?
What type of a business license do they currently hold?
They just have a business license with the town of Crestone, it's not anything specific. They do have a food license as well, but not through the town.
How old are the kids that are working there? 14 or 15?
For like 13 to 15.
What's the state law on the age of a kid to work at a restaurant?
If related, it can be any age, but I think.
If without really doing my research, I do believe you can be 10 years old. There are regulations as to the number of hours. And that's also related to if it's a school day or prior to a school day. And that number of hours changes. I believe it's ages 10 to 12. I think it changes again at 13 and then also 15 and 16.
I worked the register 10 years old in my grandparents' deli in New York.
That's family.
The specific one I heard was, it was 15-year-old working 40 hours a week.
And I guess that would be something I don't have that specific statute in front of me about the number of hours a 15-year-old can work. And I do know there are some restrictions once school starts here. Like the day prior to school.
And there's the rare case, I think, of, I forget what you call it, when you divorce yourself from your parents legally.
When
Emancipated.
you emancipate yourself.
I never been in that, have any of you been in that place since it opened? Nobody, Ariel? I've never been in there.
Interesting.
How do you wanna move forward with this? I mean,
Is that something we should talk to the sheriff's department about? Contributing to delinquency of minors?
We have called the sheriff's department about other things going on. We didn't call about that. I encourage the people who complain to call about that. I don't know if they did.
It seems like we should act on our complaints. I mean, that's
Do
what my conscience is telling me.
we know who the actual like owner is listed, like for the property or?
Yeah, it's Alexander.
Just him by himself?
He's the owner of the property, not himself.
well, I mean, should the complainants come forward to the board and then we move forward from that direction? Or should we hold a public hearing of some sort that allows the complainants to come forth?
And so the public hearing would be part of the process to revoke a business license.
So what I'm seeing here. The Colorado liquor law generally prohibits restaurants from allowing patrons to bring their own alcohol into the premises. That Colorado strictly prohibits licensed restaurants from allowing patrons to bring alcohol not purchased from the establishment, and if establishment doesn't have a liquor law.
So state
The
law,
problem is if they're licensed and they allow people, so since they're unlicensed, are they allowed to allow people to drink alcohol?
So what I'm kind of, on the superficial reading says that if a restaurant has a liquor license, then it's more towards a restaurant or local usage, but if a restaurant does not have a license at all.
Well,
And I'm the way I'm reading this 65140 is also a little bit not addressing specifically what we're talking about.
so I'm looking up too, it says Colorado,
Lawful manner,
sorry.
conducting the activity authorized by the permit in an unlawful manner. That does sound,
I think what the court has suggested is setting up a public hearing. And getting the ball rolling in that respect will be the catalyst. We'll probably already proceed through the whole thing.
and if we're served in 65140. We could, the clerk could revoke the business license immediately, it sounds like. Conducting the activity authorized unlawful in such a manner as to constitute menace to the health, safety, or general welfare of the public. That sounds like we could do it at any time. It would be a clerk's decision or a clerk's duty.
Making the order, enforcing it will be two different things, so. I got a feeling this started just.
Yeah.
From what I'm hearing, anyway,
Interesting.
so, but if we get it handed down, then we can
Yeah.
advertise and all that shit.
Yeah,
Look at it, who's going to be most successful in accomplishing everything.
yeah.
It's gonna be over there, so.
Maximum occupancy.
And clerk, I may just have a further more in-depth conversation with you or yourself to kind of discuss some of the specific activity that's being
Okay.
conducted to see if it does violate any state, federal law. That way we can kind of figure out if we're talking more suspension, which would be immediate, or revocation, which would be a little bit longer after our notice and public hearing.
So I was looking at occupancy or maximum occupancy, it says like if it has a less than 20 maximum. Occupancy, I don't know, I can't say that word right. Then they would need a license, but if it has less than 20 occupancy rating for the place. That's the only exemption where they won't need a license for BYOB.
Less than 20.
Can you find that where?
It's from the article from 2014.
Evans Fox LLP attorneys.
Does it say it in any of
That's
the
Colorado.
liquor code?
At first I thought it meant like occupancy and how many people actually there at the time, but it says the maximum occupancy rating. No, this isn't the site in Colorado, right? I looked it up on the Colorado state law, that's redirecting me. Guess we have to do some research on that.
Yeah,
And I'd definitely start with our town code. I mean, if we have a license 6-1-20, it's a license required for every person. They must obtain a license from the town before operating, conducting, or carrying on any retail trade, profession, or business within the town, except that nonprofit state corporations and federal, state, or municipal corporations are hereby exempt from the license requirements set forth in this article.
Well, if you want me to start with the conversation instead, we could start there. I just wanted to bring that to your attention and get the ball rolling somehow.
I agree, I think it's something that, because of the complaints that we got. Although, it would be nice for us to see them, because I feel like we're we're basing it on.
Well, that's why I say a public hearing, because that's when people would come and they'll say it
Right,
to you. If you want to see them too.
Can we legally, can we see the complaints, like, as
Yeah.
board members, yeah? Yeah, I'm curious, I want to see them too.
So have they applied for a liquor license?
They applied through the state,
try.
and the state won't give it to them without local approval.
So it's not even at the point of having a public hearing or anything, right, or we just have a business
No,
that's in
it's gonna be
violation?
What I'm talking about is a hearing for their business license, not for their liquor license. You can, in your code, have a public hearing to revoke or suspend any business license in town for a number of reasons that I'm looking at here, but you have to have a public hearing to do it. And then it would come up in the liquor hearing as well, I would say the same things.
so
So Ariel, would you mind having a meeting tomorrow at say 10 o'clock? Would that be the time we can discuss if this is something we think needs elevated to board decision? You could recommend or request that a special meeting be held just for this one topic. And that would be for the board to take action if the town clerk is not going to take action on causing a public hearing to be held on the matter of revocation of a business license.
That sounds good. I'm meeting you tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sending you the invite now.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys for hearing me.
Anything else for the attorney?
I guess I have one more question on the Tabor issue, whether we, if we make two separate contracts, at what stage can we write the contract for the next year with the Tabor separation? At what point can we approve that next year's contract?
I would approve a contract for funds that are going to be spent in 2026 being signed January 1st, 2026.
Okay, that answers my question.
So that would be, that might be an option if we wanted to go up until December 31st with this contract. And then
That'd be a very good option.
have one ready for the whole year,
Right.
2026.
Yay.
That might be. Salary side.
Yeah.
So,
I owe you a copy.
so then is there a way that we can take that contract rather than do the addendum? We just date it differently and then have the next one ready for 2026.
You know, let's mull on tonight and we'll talk about it tomorrow, because you got other folks meeting tonight.
Okay, the only reason I'm saying that is because we have a board here, we could do it. Right now. We could approve it with up until January or December 31st. With an intention to continue for the whole year.
But the contract is written for 1 year, it says.
I know, but that would be the only change that we would make, we'd sign it up until the 31st of December. And then we would have a new contract from January 1st all the way till December 31st the next year, so it'd be a whole year. Contract,
But we'd have to rescind the approval,
right,
or we just leave it alone.
because that violates the Tabor.
And Mayor, maybe I should clarify. I really thought that I read this was for a 1 year contract. I am reading it as month to month. I do not see,
Oh,
even though with that, I would say we should request our Tabor clause. I thought that this was for 1 year. I thought I saw August 2026 in here. I cannot find that though right now.
okay,
So if it's month to month,
We can take it up to the 31st of December.
yeah,
Right on.
Then make up your contract after that.
Right.
The other option would be just to make the contract
So who's
from now to the end of the year, not month to month. Would that
That's
be
January now.
But we don't have to, it's
We don't
a
have.
month to month, we can cancel it
Right?
in September.
Bear in mind, could be okay.
local ordinances.
Ordinances, yeah.
Yeah, that's what he was saying, was that we would have to create an ordinance.
Time to go home.
We still have a couple more things, sorry. I know, you look ready, but, yeah,
ready,
you look ready for the next
ready
action.
to go, huh?
You think a lot more. Like, if I have to leave at like 3:50 and come back 4:10.
Hopefully we'll be done in the next
I said, I figure school.
20 minutes, I'd say.
20 minutes.
So Seth, what do you wanna do? Are we good with, are we gonna do that addendum or are we gonna be able to take that off?
I will still draft that amendment. A month-to-month contract can also enter into 2026. So I'd propose that you create that amendment and propose that to Mr. Collier also.
Okay, but it doesn't affect us right now, we're okay.
Right.
Let's go with that, let's move on. So Seth, I think. As of right now, we're. We're happy with you as our attorney and I assume that we're just gonna continue with our work with you. And feel like. The only difference would be that you would have times when you're not working and you just be in communication about that.
And please be in communication with me about that too on your end. I appreciate and enjoy working with the town of Crestone. And I will have a few things hopefully to our clerk by I guess it's Thursday. I'll try to get those to you Thursday. And we will also have a phone call tomorrow at 10 just to discuss the business license in more depth.
Yeah, and maybe even discussing this judge thing as well, trying to figure out. And what, I don't know, maybe it's too early, but we need to figure out when the judge is gonna be able to do this, what is it called?
So I've got about an hour scheduled for tomorrow, and I do believe that my last phone call with our judge for scheduling purposes was really open-ended. If I get the clerk on the phone and we do have the time to talk, we'll have a conference call.
Okay. All right, Seth, be well, take care of yourself. We will look forward to the stuff that the amendment and ordinance that you're writing.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Board. I wish you all well also, and until next time.
All righty.
Thank you, everybody.
All righty, we are moving on quickly to. Okay, we had our Diego Martinez. Yeah, we did everything else. We're down to 18F. Request from Diego Martinez, Baca Water and Sanitation District regarding possible funding opportunity attachments. Email and funding information. I had put this on the agenda because it was an email that was sent to me. It's basically asking for our support if we decide to go out for a grant, as we would be the municipality that helps them legitimize.
Sorry.
I don't think it would be obligate us to any funding or anything, or funding for us, nor would it be like any kind of match that we would have to put in. It would just be really supporting them and help and having our name as part of their grant cycle, grant process in order to be able to for them to.
Flowers and chocolate.
Yeah, and we can send it to the other guy for. Cause they,
As long as it's not famous, it's good.
they need just any local government support to apply for this grant for themselves.
Exactly.
They're asking for support for them.
So I would say that we should, in general, just be open to that support as part of our contract with them, or we will. So the only thing I would ask is that Ariel writes a quick response saying the town board is definitely interested in supporting any kind of requests.
You need a motion?
Do you want a motion or do you want just a direction?
Directions.
I would say the only thing about that is that, you know, that we obviously can't approve any kind of match or anything like that. It would just be specifically for,
Just saying that we support.
yeah, as like a town municipality, we support.
So we're willing to support him, but the town's not gonna put any funds or match.
I mean, not without
Further
full further approval.
That sounds good.
They just secured $750,000 grant for the water distribution system.
Oh, wow. That's.
Came out of the governor's office.
Oh, wow.
Good for them. They need it.
Yeah, old piping. Next, the last thing is this deobligation letter. Oh, not the last thing, because we do have citizen comments at the very end. So we have a 55,000 we owe. So I'm just gonna back up and just say what this was originally for. So we had a grant that was, I think was in the $700,000 range to basically extend our sewer system from, and it was a very extensive plan that as soon as we took the grant, or decided to take the grant, the prices, it was like during COVID, and all of a sudden, like, it was getting less and less on how much we could do for that money. But in the meantime, when Leslie was here, she used some of that money to do what's called the jetting and scoping, which is something that you do for every system, they say every 5 years, 5 to 10 years, they do jetting and scoping.
Yeah.
But right, so there was some suspect areas where water could have been infiltrating into our wastewater system, so. So she decided to use that money. So we received the money and then we used it to do this, and it would have been part of the grant had we done the rest of the grant with that, so we could have basically. Included that in, but since we didn't follow through on the rest of the grant, we are now stuck with the obligation for this jetting and scoping. Which is something that would be routine anyway, so we're actually not in, it's not like, we're not really out any money, we're just. Yeah,
We gotta repay it, but we would have had to do that anyway, so it's the same.
exactly, so it was $55,000, we did find, I think they found some stuff, I don't know if it got repaired, but it was helpful.
From the documents I saw, yeah.
Yeah.
They did. Finally made the repairs.
They made the repairs, so, hey,
Money well spent.
kind of money well spent, I mean, the other thing is we're spending it now, so. Maybe it's gonna be a few years before we'll be able to do another jetting and scoping, maybe, see. But anyway, point being, we owe the money and, we're now. They're very open to some kind of, de-obligation plan that states how we wanna do it, so we just have to decide how we wanna do it, and I was thinking that. Breaking it into 2 payments would probably be the easiest for both parties, it wouldn't last very long. Again, Tabor comes up, we can't, this is like same kind of thing, we're obligating ourselves for another year, but we could. I don't know how that works exactly.
We have the funds to just pay it now? Done with it, or is that money needed for other stuff?
Didn't you,
We did put it in the budget,
we put the full amount, I think you put more than.
yeah, 60 something.
You put 60,000 into the budget.
So yeah, I guess we could.
Probably just pay it now and get it over with.
Or we could talk to the
I don't know,
lawyer.
find you guys with more finance.
No, I'm with you on that. Yeah.
I'm of the same mind.
Get it going.
I'm trying to get the obligations just wiped out as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, why carry it over to another year?
It'd be more interest.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think there is interest on this anyways, but it was more, I think they were doing this because they were trying to help us. Spread it out, over many years, but we did budget for it on purpose.
So they would have to write a contract to us 1 year at a time. If it was taken.
Probably, yeah.
Or,
And there was a lot of effort to get that down to 55,000.
Yeah.
We started out, that's quite a bit more.
Since we budgeted for it,
I think it was twice, wasn't it? Probably twice that amount.
I remember it being much more, I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, it was 120, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, really.
So matching amounts of grants, I think it's the 62,000. I think it was 62,634, that sound right?
is there any reason to really over discuss this, or can we just make a motion to do it? It is a lot of money, so.
And we did think ahead and budget for it.
Budgeted in, so
And with the supplemental,
I'm pretty happy to,
It will carry over to the supplemental.
that'd be a good time to do it.
I'm pretty happy to do it.
Lower.
And get, unless we can think of an honest reason not to, I mean. We always win with holding money back because of inflation, but. It's the only reason I can think of.
Yeah.
Paying debts later is always cheaper if there's no interest, it's just cheaper, but. I'd rather, I like, in my own affairs, I like wiping things off the plate so I can go to sleep at night. So,
All right, so I would entertain a motion to pay it.
I'm gonna pay that, grant, the
The obligation of the.
CDBG. The obligation grant, on the back.
One second.
55,000, something.
In the amount of, yeah, what is it?
$39.93.
That.
Second is, Mayor Pro Tem Oslusny. First is trustee Roth and any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, thank you guys, that's great. And then just move on to citizens' comments. Any citizens' comments? You? So if you wanna step out of the quorum and do your citizens' comment, you could probably do that. You'd have to go just out of the,
I think I might be able to resolve this with just talking to Skip, actually.
well, you shouldn't be directing Skip.
Okay, I will step, I can really do that.
Yeah, well, we're still a quorum, so
Okay. I mean, I just really need to, having some problems with my business sign and trees and stuff around my, place, so I just am hoping to prune that maple tree up a couple feet so my sign can be seen. It's a beautiful tree, so it would just go up to where people driving and walking by could see my business sign.
so in the code, you're allowed to trim trees that are bordering your property
Okay,
under fire mitigation, but
yeah, I think I could do it. I think I can make it look nice and take good care of the trees at my property, so. That's all.
thank you.
Really excited. Okay, good.
All right, so yeah, you stepped out as a board member into citizen and then stepping back in as a board member, thank you. Anything technical or? I would entertain a motion to adjourn if there's no more citizens' comments.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, guys. 3:30.
Quick one. Good job.